I grew up in an island at 100 miles by 35. When I was a little girl growing up in Puerto Rico in the 60s, I didn't have a role model, and that made my path very difficult. I didn't have somebody I could look up to and say, I want to be like them. So I've always taken the responsibility of that, being a role model for the younger generation. And I'm super happy that, we have Monica Puig won a gold medal for Puerto Rico, and she obviously came behind me and came in my footsteps. And we have 3 Puerto Rican women now that have Olympic gold medals. Monica Puig, of course, won the gold medal for Puerto Rico in 2016, which was a very proud moment for all Puerto Ricans. Her being the first Puerto Rican to win a gold medal representing Puerto Rico. And Jasmine Camacho Quinn, who just won the gold medal at the last Olympics in Tokyo in the hurdles. So we have 3 Puerto Rican women with gold medals, and it's from, coming from this tiny, tiny island. That's a very proud moment for a lot of Puerto Ricans, and definitely a sense of pride in the Puerto Rican community about the 3 Olympic gold medalists for Puerto Rico. The only challenge that I feel I faced when I was playing was that I was one of very few Hispanic women. I mean, it's one of the first ones. Mary Jo Fernandez came along a little bit after me. Conchita Martinez and Arantxa Sanchez were about 10 years after me. So there was no really that camaraderie that you can have with other athletes of your same country when you're like, for example, the Spaniards, they're all always hanging out together. They're all from Spain. Obviously, they connect on that. The Americans kind of tend to hang out. The Australians kind of tend to hang out. So I was not only the only Puerto Rican, but I was also the only Hispanic. So it was kind of isolating at times. And but it's funny because when you're going through something like that, you don't really dwell on it, and you don't really know that there's anything different or wrong about it. It's kind of like looking back. I wish that I had that. I wish that there'd been other Hispanic girls that I could have connected with. It didn't weigh on me at the time because, when you're an athlete, you're so focused on competing and reaching your goals. So you can't dwell on things that sort of aren't based on your meeting your goals or being better as an athlete. So the best advice I ever got was to learn to detach from the outcome. So that came during a Wimbledon final where we were in a rain delay and we were losing 4-1, 2 breaks to a team that we didn't want to lose to. And we came off the rain delay, and my coach said I needed to detach from the outcome because I was so invested in wanting to win that beat them and win Wimbledon that it was affecting my performance. So he kind of talked me through what I needed to do to be able to detach from the outcome, and that actually became my career motto. Like after that, because we were down 4-1, 2 breaks, and when we came back from the rain delay, we only lost 1 more game and won that 6-4, 6-1. It was my first Wimbledon title, and from that point on, that was my career motto. Every time that I had an important match or an important moment or a semifinals, finals of a Grand Slam, that's all I kept telling myself, because in the end, it doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter if you win or lose. So when you get so into it and you think it's so important, but when it comes down to it, what he said to me was like, it's not going to change your life if you win this match or you lose this match. Tomorrow morning, your parents are going to love you the same. You're going to wake up, have 2 arms and 2 legs, and you're still Wimbledon finalist. You have next year to try to win Wimbledon. So try to not give it so much importance. And that was incredible advice. Well, the worst thing somebody ever said to me before a match, and I was a coach that I had a very short-lived relationship with. It was the 95, I believe, Australian Open quarterfinals. And Natasha and I never lost before the semis until this match. And before I went on the court, my coach said, my coach that should not have been my coach, he was my hitting partner. And he decided that he was going to try to advise me. And he said to me, do you know that you've lost to Arantxa Sanchez Vicario 9 times in a row? And he said that an hour before I was about to go play her. So I was like, oh my God. No, I did not know that. And guess what I did? Of course, I went and lost for the 10th time in a row. And then of course, I fired him right away. And that's not something you want to tell someone before they go on the court. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't overcome that. It was, sometimes it's better not to say anything, to a player right before they're going on the court. Just kind of stay quiet. If you don't have some great advice, don't give it. No, I would never let him know they've lost 9 times in a row. I would say, maybe we'll do this. Let's try this for this match. Why don't we try to be more aggressive, try to come in more, maybe switch sides, or Maybe let's get an early lead. Let's try to get up on her right away. Don't try not to like, start slow, like super. Let's get the intensity up and get a quick start. But I would never tell a player you just lost 9 times in a row to someone because chances are they're going to lose the 10th time. Yeah. There's definitely a lot more diversity in culture now than there used to be. There's a lot of more emphasis on diversity and inclusion in the world as a whole. And also the world is more global. Like, right, you can, with social media and internet and computers and cell phones, we're all very connected globally. When I turned pro, there was no cell phones. So I would, and there was just starting to have fax machines. So when I would travel and I would send my parents a document, like a handwritten document that I would mail to them. And I would say, okay, here's the next 5 hotels I'm staying at, and here's the fax numbers and the phone numbers of those hotels. If you need to reach me in, Moscow, this is the hotel I'm staying at, and that's how we connected. So it's very isolating in that sense, which is why it would have been nice to have that community of other Hispanic kind of compadres, but we didn't have that. So now it's easier, better, whatever you want to call it. In a way, social media is the good and the bad. The good is it helped, we're so connected and it's so easy to stay in contact with, FaceTime my mom from across the world. There was none of that when I was playing tennis. My proudest moment as an athlete was carrying the Puerto Rican flag into the Pan Am Games in 1983 into Caracas, Venezuela. So that was one of my proudest moments as an individual, to represent 6 million Puerto Ricans that live throughout the globe, carry the flag into the arena. As far as tennis goes, the gold medals are my proudest accomplishment, particularly the first one. The first time you do something, it's pretty cool. The second time, there's pressure. You're trying to defend. But the setting around the first match, we were playing the Spaniards in Spain. There was 12,000 people in the stadium, and it was packed. They were all mostly rooting for them, but it's still, the atmosphere was electrifying, and it's the biggest crowd I think I played in front of, and it was a great match. Tennis is a sport of a lifetime. I struggle right now. I'm struggling with my kids on this same subject because they play football and soccer, American football and football, European football, soccer, and they play baseball and they play lacrosse and they play all these sports that they're not going to play when they any moment past 18 or maybe 21 if they play in college. But tennis is a sport for a lifetime. You will play tennis. You can play tennis for the rest of your life. It's one of the few sports where you exercise your whole body, upper and lower. Soccer is very lower body dominated. Swimming is really the only other sport where you use your whole body, upper and lower. So as far as exercise, and to stay healthy and fit, it's a great activity. Swimming, of course, is very isolating. You're in a pool going back and forth, so there's no social element. Tennis is a social game. Some of the best friends that I've made since retiring came from my tennis endeavors after retiring. Like when I was playing, did not make a lot of friends while I was on tour, because mostly they're my competitors, so there was always that kind of a little bit of aloofness or a little bit of separation that you had to make from your friends, because you could compete against them. But some of my best friends now I have made through tennis. So it's a month to celebrate the achievements of Hispanics globally, and I'm honored to be doing this interview this month. I appreciate you asking me to be here. I feel like I carry the torch, for Hispanics in tennis. One of many players, of course, now that do that, and it's important to give back and to let other people know that, or the Hispanics know that, and kids that are listening know that you can set goals and reach your dreams regardless of where you came from. I grew up in an island that had not a lot of great coaching and not a lot of great role models or mentors. But I had a goal to be a professional tennis player, or someone said to me that they thought I could be a professional tennis player, and I just followed my passion because that's what I loved. I loved playing tennis and ended up having a very successful career. So it's it's an important month to celebrate the achievements of not just tennis players, but Hispanics in general.
I actually had the privilege of being able to look up to somebody, and not because we were interviewing her today, but actually it was Gigi Fernandez, because she has a lot of spunk, was very fiery on the court, was an amazing doubles champion and singles player as well. That's why I think it's so important that we promote the sport of tennis, and that minorities have somebody to look up to, such as a great tennis player like Gigi Fernandez.
As we heard earlier from Gigi Fernandez, diversity and inclusion it's spoken often. It's everywhere. It's global, and so there's more awareness. So it gives me the opportunity to be in this position to support all the families, Hispanic families that want to join and play tennis. And I think that this is a great opportunity for the USTA to also embrace that diversity and bring it all together. We have a lot of people that we can look up to, whereas before it was just looked at differently. Now we have more diversity with Coco Gauff and Sloane Stephens and Serena and Venus. In the past, for us Hispanic families, we had Gigi, we had Mary Jo Fernandez and Raquel Sanchez, but it just kind of felt like we really didn't feel like there was a representation. And now today it's okay to speak Spanish, it's okay to be out there and wave your flag and be proud to be a Hispanic, to be a Latino in the United States, and to play tennis as a Hispanic. So as the director of community tennis, I am relishing this role because it gives me that opportunity to bring all families. And everyone knows Hispanics are all different shades, colors, sizes, and it's a unique culture, and we're happy. I'm excited.